in the morning before school, my sister would go to school earlier than me, and I would have this like hour where she wouldn't be there, and I could sneak in her room and steal CDs, go down to the garage, listen to whatever I wanted to listen to. And I think it was first or second grade. I took Green Day Dookie. I took I think it was the Offspring Smash or something, and I was listening to Green Day, and I just felt this energy that I just really, really just I loved it. I was like, whatever's happening, whatever's coming out of these speakers, like I want to do that.
Shit's about to go down.
I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Della, Vedova.
All right, everybody, friends, family, lovers of art and life, welcome back to Chats and Tatts. I have a really fun guest today. What the best part is, he was connected to me through Grant Morgan, who you guys saw in a previous episode, who's one of my favorite people in the world. And he connected me to this man and said, you got to meet him. He's a gem. He's fucking rad. He's into all the things we're into, including hallucinogenics and art and music. So he's here today, and I'm going to get to know him a little bit more. He's a musician. He's a metal musician. I don't know if I'm terming that correct. I know there's a lot of genres. I'll let him break it down. But he can rip the guitar and play some music that will blow your mind. If you're into metal, you'll definitely know who this guy is. So without further ado, please welcome my guest today, Mark Heylmun.
Hey, thank you for having me, Aaron. That was a great introduction. Metal musician, that works.
Okay,
That's fine.
I feel so nervous around the subject because I know there is, little genres within there.
Yeah.
And the people that are into metal, they'll correct you.
That is why you were hesitant, because metal is this elitist thing that there's a moat around it that, if you don't say it right or have the right thing to say about it, it's like, no, that's wrong.
That's true, isn't it?
I'm so aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm so deep in it that, because I have like both feet in metal, but
right.
I'm still kind of heart and soul in other places. So I'm aware of how the juxtaposition of all of that it's still odd to me.
That is interesting, though, because not every music genre creates a fan base that's so defensive of their identity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be the other musical genre where the fans get that, like, no, we are this, and this is midnight metal, and that's death metal, and this is, because they get very like that around the metal subject. Because the rappers don't seem to do it.
No. There's little bits of
country probably
subgenres.
does it a little bit.
I would say jazz, but that's something that no one talks about. So what does it matter?
Because jazz guys are just sitting back like, we are the real musicians.
But there's so many different kinds of jazz. There's real jazz, and then there's whatever goes on AM radio jazz.
Right. And that goes for all music, though, right?
Yeah.
You've got your commercial metal that's probably to you bullshit, and then the real stuff.
But why metal is what it is, I feel like, because it draws a line in the sand. You're either on that side of metal,
right,
or you're not, and that's why you don't catch a cold with metal. Like, you get the disease and it's there for life.
Yeah.
Like you have it.
Well, that's probably makes for a good fan base. Loyal.
100%. Absolutely.
They're not finicky. They're not, flippant. They're not just going to ditch you. Like, they love you. They love you.
This is totally true. Totally true. And I say that the same about, like, a band. If, like, you don't have people that hate you, you won't have people that love you in metal. Like, especially with metal. Like, you have to really create that line in the sand.
That's interesting.
It is. It's totally strange. I love talking to people that aren't involved in metal about it, because it's easier to talk to them about it, because metalheads, sometimes they're so locked in the metal world that they don't even want to think about non-metal. It's like they're just in it, And
that's hilarious. Well, let's start there a little bit. I mean, one of the things I love talking to people about is, well, first of all, I love having people on the show that have carved out their own lane in life. I just think that's fucking rad. I don't care if you're a jewelry maker or a knife maker or a painter or a whatever, man. It's just the folks that seem to have found something they loved, and no matter what that meant, they stuck with it and then found success. And you're one of those people. So I like that story. I like, when does it start? You're a young man. Obviously, music comes into your life at some point. Let's go through that a little bit. When do you fall in love with music? It didn't, or maybe it started with metal. I'm assuming it didn't.
Not exactly. So, yeah, my house was a musical household.
Okay.
My dad was a jazz guitar player, and he studied for 8 years with a guy named Peter Sprague. And
Recognize that name.
It's like kind of not a well-known guy, but he's a well-known in the jazz community guy. So my dad was a guitar player. There was always guitars around. There was Guitar World magazine. There was, every once in a while Spin or Rolling Stone or whatever. My sister is 7 years older than me. So there was this nice gap where she was kind of more into like hip stuff, and I'm young and kind of seeing what is cool, or cooler. And what I remember when I knew that I was really into music was my dad used to listen to Steve Vai and like guitar players. He would have tapes in his Ford Taurus, I think it was. And I heard Little Green Men by Steve Vai, and it was a song that I knew was called Little Green Men. It was about aliens, and I was like, oh, that's cool, aliens. And it's like this silly kind of whimsical song. And I remember hearing that and being like, this is rad. I didn't really know what I was being attracted to. I just knew that I was enjoying it. And once I knew, like, my dad listened to cool music, my sister listened to cool music, I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to listen to. And in the morning before school, my sister would go to school earlier than me, and I would have this like hour where she wouldn't be there, and I could sneak in her room and steal CDs, go down to the garage, listen to whatever I wanted to listen to. And I think it was first or second grade, I took Green Day Dookie. I took, I think it was the Offspring Smash or something. And I was listening to Green Day, and I just felt this energy that I just really, really just, I loved it. I was like, whatever's happening, whatever's coming out of these speakers, like, I want to do that. Like, I didn't know what that was. I just knew, like, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm doing. And like my dad would have guitars in the garage, and like I would pick them up and like air guitar, not even know what I was doing, and like rock out before school. And that's really where it started. I had no direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that music was cool, and it gave me this full feeling and like a glow, like a I've never thought about it like that, but that's what it was. It was like I was getting my first kind of glow.
Right. That's dope.
It was super cool, but I didn't pick up a guitar or an instrument until, you never want to do what your parents are doing,
It's kind of uncool because dad's doing it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to play guitar. My dad's playing guitar. He's in like these weird like cover bands, like playing songs that I don't really like that much, So I tried to play keyboard like Ray Manzarek from The Doors. This is really out there. But I got into like classic rock and that kind of stuff, and I wanted to play keyboard, and I tried to play like Light My Fire. This. So I was into so much nerdy stuff. It took me, that was probably 5th grade. It took me 2 more years before I'm like, you know what? I'm already asking my dad to like show me notes like on the keyboard, or like learn how to read the music. So like show me how to play guitar, Yeah. So I started playing guitar, and immediately was just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is it. And quickly, within 6 months, I was playing with every guitar player I could meet in my hometown and jamming, and quickly realizing like, oh, I think I'm kind of better than these guys. And like, they've been playing for a little longer than me, So I kind of saw my lane, and I just knew it. I just knew this is all I'm going to do. I never had, even from 1st grade, 2nd grade, listening to Green Day going, this is what I want to do. There was nothing else I wanted to do other than that. Like, sure, I BMX'd or skateboarded and stuff, but like, music was always the goal.
That's fucking cool, man. I love about that story is your first love of music was about the energy you felt, not so much the music kind of. Like, music's kind of... I want to say it's the result of. It's the thing that brings you. We've all had that feeling, man. Now, music is so, I wish I was a musician. I'm a visual artist, and I'm so jealous of musicians because that goosebump. You could be in your car, right song comes on. I could cry.
Absolutely.
Right song comes on.
I love that.
I can't remember the last time. I mean, maybe it's happened, but to look at art, visual art, and cry.
Yep.
or just
Yeah.
whole body get raised up in goosebumps, like, whoa. Like, music is, I don't know, man. There's a part of me that thinks it's the most powerful art form. And I hate to say it that way because they're all equal and they all count. But there is something different about music, man. I don't know what that is, but it does deliver an energy frequency. You know, we had my buddy Dave Warshaw, who's been a musician his whole life, and he kind of referred to it as a language. He's like, it's a language, man. You think about it, like it communicates to you. You don't have to, and everyone knows the language. Even a baby can speak music. Maybe it can't play music, but it can hear it, and it feels what I'm feeling. And it'll bob its head and tap things, and it's just some kind of primal communication. And when you look at like humans throughout history, well, we've always made it. We've always bonked on things and hummed and whistled and, you know, maybe, go ahead.
I like that. I like the concept of music being a language, but there's even more, like you say, like it does deal in frequency, because when there's hertz and the tuning of your instruments is all to a certain frequency. So you really are, it's giving me chills thinking about it. You are dealing with different frequencies. Like normal tuning, I'm sure people that are watching this maybe are familiar with like A440, which is what everybody tunes their instruments to. But there's so many, you could tune to A330, which they say is like the love frequency. So you can write music in a frequency that is meant to put out an energy of love. So, and then about it being a language, it's almost, I feel like it's more of a vernacular of frequency. So it's the way that it is being put out from, it kind of transcends, to me it transcends language. It's more because it deals in that energy of frequency, it's more of, like it's the dialect of the frequency that you are choosing to use. And like I always kind of have difficulty with it being a language, which I think it's the best kind of debate. It's like it is kind of a language, but it's more than a language, you know, because if it is a language, there's also just frequency of sound. You can listen to one note being played on multiple different instruments, one note for 8 minutes straight. It just changes instruments. And like that's not exactly music, but that is music, you know?
And it makes you feel something. You know, that's the thing. It's weird to me. Like I mess around on my piano at the house, and it's weird to me how I can hit a note. And for me, that note sounds like sadness. Just the sound of that boom. I don't know. This note sounds like, this one sounds like something that I should be coming up and getting maybe excited by that note. It's almost as if each note can, and when you combine the notes, it gets more complicated. And then if you add other instruments, and you're just further complicating this. But there does seem to be a communication inside tones and frequencies.
Absolutely. It's also, it's kind of like something that's going to resonate with where you are. You know, like wherever you already are going to emanate some sort of energy, if you believe in that, like kind of chakra kind of stuff. And,
I do.
You know, if you whatever you're already putting out there, any note could feel a certain way to you, but then totally different to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, like a happy song with sad lyrics. You know, like you could feel that those lyrics and cry because you get the lyrics, or you can completely ignore them and hear the happy song.
Right. You know, it meets you where you're at. I mean, like a lot of things in life, right? It meets you where you're at. Yeah, that's cool. And you know, this idea of like sound and frequency being some encoded in it somehow is some language or some form of communication is something I think about it a lot. I mean, and we're going to get into maybe some hallucinogenic talk, because I know you're big into hallucinogenics for you know healing or growing purposes, intentional purposes, maybe I should say. But on some of my trips, especially on DMT, it seemed as though, like, first of all, there's a sound to it. I can't explain it. It's almost like a hum or a tone. And in that tone, I felt like in my trips there was language. And then in the light, there's light happening. And in the light, I felt like the entities were kind of saying, this is how we communicate at our level. We don't use words. Those are so fumbly and misconstrued. And, you know, when you talk to someone, you're lucky if they halfway understand what it is you're trying to say. But with this form, with this sound and these lights, this is crystal clear, undeniable, and very clear, like an advanced language. That's what it felt like to me, like an alien advanced, like us in 10,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's how we're going to talk.
Oh, yeah.
And so it brings me back to like frequency and music, and perhaps that's what we're playing with. Maybe it's the beginning of us and our evolutionary path. Figuring that I could see you nodding your head. You're
funny,
feeling.
It's funny because the first time that I ever had a breakthrough with DMT, it's just funny because this was 2011. The only reason why I even knew what DMT was because of that short that Joe Rogan had that was on YouTube where he was talking about geometric patterns and blah, all this stuff, and it was like that kind of floated around, but there wasn't a lot of people talking about DMT back then. And me and a buddy of mine, we ordered Mimosa Hostilis root bark from Amsterdam.
That's what I did.
From
South America.
And then we had to go to San Diego County to buy lye because lye was illegal in Riverside County because you can make speed with it. And so like we figured out how to make. We didn't know where to get DMT, so we were like, let's make it.
Dude, I have to interrupt. I did the same thing, same year. Because we couldn't fucking get it.
Exactly.
And Joe, I did Joe Rogan's sleeve, so Joe's down there getting tattooed, telling us how great it is. We're like, well, let's call up our friends. Somebody has it. No, nobody has it. Order the roots from South America. Hire this. We call him Benny 1000 because he apparently had done DMT 1,000 times. And Ben set up. He had the hexane and. But it was a fucking science laboratory, and we made it. So it's hilarious. I've never met anybody else for their first time so set on doing DMT.
Oh, yeah.
And I got Mimosa Hostilis. I thought my shit came from South America, but whatever.
Yeah.
You could order it back then. You can't order it anymore.
It was from bouncingbearbotanicals.com, and that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I wonder if that's where I got mine. That sounds familiar.
I want to say I learned it from Joe Rogan too. I think you might have mentioned that.
Oh, think how many because of him.
Yeah,
Boy, he accelerated that movement.
It's totally true. So, also the dosage. How much are you supposed to do? Like trying to figure out how to do it. So, we were doing the sandwich method and like,
little bit of
foot
weed.
and a half bong, a little bit of weed, a little bit of DMT, a little bit of weed, and we're terrified first. Like, this stuff's supposed to like throw you for a loop. So we don't know what we're doing. Let's start with a little grain of sand, and we did it like 5 times, not enough, and felt like, okay, we're starting to feel it, but like, no, we want to hit it. So eventually it was just like, all right, fuck it. Drop a big old mound on there, way too much. Who knows how much it really was. Dude. And so I hit it, and I lean against my friend's bedroom wall on his bed. He's at his computer desk. Shout out Rico. He puts on Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd.
Appropriate, maybe.
And I love that he did it too, because now I still can gauge how long I was completely gone for, because it got to a point in the guitar solo, and all of a sudden I kind of become cognizant, and I go, I've been here before, because I recognize the guitar solo. So back to like the music and it being frequency, or it being some sort of language, the fact that it told me I've been here before, for some reason that resonates with me still, because it wasn't like I'm recognizing I'm hearing anything. It's like something is being pushed into me and telling you that you have been here before. So when you thinking about music as almost a location, when you're listening to it, like this is a location in the ether of everything that exists every time you listen to it. That's kind of like it could be a way that music or frequencies is some sort of communication, like a future, something that we haven't quite tapped into being able to figure out, like pinpointing certain things that are spiritual, ethereal, forever locations. And yeah, it's above our mind grade.
No, but you can feel it though. Like you can sense that there's something bigger happening than just, I'm just listening to a song. If you get into a deep enough place where you're really involved with a song or really involved with a tone or an instrument, we've all had that moment where you can feel something bigger happening, but we can't quite put your finger on it. And hallucinogenics, I think, opened me up to the idea of it being a form of communication. And as far as you've been here before, God, that message, I've gotten that every time on DMT.
Right.
And I've had them flat tell me, the fucking glowing white orb entities being like, you've been here. before. And then it was almost like they're saying is actually we're here now. Like I think we're all of the places all the time. Like I don't think time is real. And for whatever reason, we focus our attention into a particular moment. And so like right now, our attention's focused on this moment. So I'm here with you, but I'm still yesterday and tomorrow. We're everything at once, I guess.
Right.
Those are the ideas that get super hard for the human brain to kind of grab. But that seemed to be sort of the message. And maybe a certain song, it places you in a certain place in the big time continuum, and a different song puts you somewhere else. Yeah, we don't have it figured out, but there's something going on there, dude.
Yeah.
Music's bigger than just what we think it is.
It is, absolutely. It's the most beautiful thing there is to me. And I do, you said you wish you were a musician, and I feel like most musicians that don't do other forms of art, like I wish I could draw. I have terrible penmanship. I can't even...
Well, what I meant by that is I just... It'd be cool to do an art form that could make people like literally cry or get those goosebumps. Because I don't. And hey, look, I should take that back. I tattoo people, and the joy I see come out of them, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I'm just highlighting that music seems to move people stronger and more often than visual arts do. I mean, anybody will tell you they have a song that moves them.
Totally.
Not anybody will tell you that there's a painting somewhere in the world that just brings them to their knees. And it just seems to be more universal in some weird way. I do think it has something to do with the tones and the frequencies. I mean, you hear that a lot in the meditation communities and stuff. The such and such megahertz. You know, I remember downloading some app where it would just it's a certain frequency.
Binaural beats.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah.
And I tried it for a while. I don't know.
It never worked for you?
No, I don't think I really gave it the attention it deserved. I think I just did it out of curiosity, and I sat there and tried to meditate for 10 minutes. It's like, huh.
Have you ever like actively meditated? Like frequently?
Yeah, I had a few years ago. I was deep, and I was daily, and I was committed. Actually, I've been feeling kind of shitty about myself lately. I've been too busy.
Same.
Yeah,
I know.
Too busy to find 10 minutes to do it.
I know.
Yeah.
I tried one of those binaural beats one time, and it tripped me out. Like
It got
really,
you.
really good. Yeah, like I was on tour, and this was a long time ago. I downloaded something on like Kazaa, and it was called Legal Drug and binaural beats, and I'm like, I'm gonna download
Click
that,
on that
you know,
immediately.
why not? So like I put some earbuds in, and I'm laying in my bunk, and it was so weird, man. Like I probably 3 or 4 minutes into it, like I bust into this like saloon style door, and all of a sudden I'm in this like weird hallway, and I'm kind of lost, and like I'm not lucid. I don't know that I am doing what I'm doing. I'm completely in a dream. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, like some voice says like, all right, walk to the end of the hallway, and there's 2 lights. One is red and one is white. Like choose which one you want to jump and smash one of the lights, and like that'll determine like your next step or something. And I run and I smash the red light, and then I just burst awake, like the most violent, awakening from a dream I've ever had. My heart was racing. I'm like, oh, I'm never doing that again. That was super weird.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super strong. But I was also, at that time, I was actively practicing lucid dreaming. So there was like a lot of weird stuff going on in my head.
I tried that for a while too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the ultimate. I never pulled it off.
Never? Yeah.
No, you did.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, dude. I'm
so
jealous.
like Waking Life, remember that movie Waking Life Richard Linklater made? He also made Dazed and Confused and
saw that.
Scanner Darkly. Waking Life, you should check it out. It's super cool. It's weird. It's about a kid. It's actually the main character in Dazed and Confused, the kid that's always doing that. Like he gets stuck in a dream, and he's just going, he keeps waking up. He keeps waking up in a dream, and every dream he's in, he's having these super intellectual conversations. I mean, Alex Jones is in it, but however you feel about him,
he's hilarious.
He is hilarious. And this is old. This is like, I think early, maybe 2000, 2001. He's just having these super deep conversations about, time warps and like being stuck in one time zone. There's like, I think it might be Edward Norton that's talking about it. There's a bunch of people in it. It's all animated over, but everyone acted. So it's this trippy looking movie. But they say if you want to learn to lucid dream, start practicing checking the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember this.
Yeah, checking the time, because the time won't. If you check your in dreams, you will not be able to really see what time it is. It should be like blurry. You won't be able to tell. And then light switches won't turn on and off. So I'm in like 7th grade. I got time, you know. Like, I'm just gonna start doing this every day. I'm like checking this stuff out, and I'm turning light switches on and off just to see if they work. So then eventually in your dreams, that triggers. So like in your dream, eventually that will trigger your lucidity. You'll be like, boom, boom. Oh, the lights are not turning off.
I'm dreaming,
and it would work.
and then that gets your lucidity exactly, and then you can be in the dream and know you're in the dream.
Totally. And yeah, and then I pretty much I only really got to the level of like being able to fly around. You know, you just want to fly, like, oh, I'm gonna start flying, or like go find some chick to fuck or something, you know. But,
that's why we all do want to learn how to lucid dream.
Of course, you know, of course. But no, if
I did have one act. You just reminded me. I did have one night where I had a book. It had steps you worked on, and I flew one night.
Yeah,
I did, but I don't know if I remember halfway lucid, like I was coming in and out. I was like, wait, I'm dreaming. No, I can make myself, I can turn. And then I would kind of go back into that, normal dream state. It just seems to be happening to you.
Yeah.
And you're along for the ride sort of thing. But I did have that one time and I don't know, I just didn't stick with it, but that's cool. You were able to get there.
I have that goes even further and further just because I didn't practice it for a long time. And then somewhere I had a really nice mushroom trip. And it kind of told me that, like, maybe you should try to do this instead of, doing so much mushrooms. Maybe you should, like, work on, meditating and work on lucid dreaming and things like this instead of eating mushrooms every day, But then I was on tour, and it actually wasn't the best idea, because then once I was on tour, I would start lucid dreaming, and my lucidity would start, like, almost right when I was supposed to wake up. So I'd been dreaming all day, but it would be like I'd lived my whole tour day. Like I just sound checked, I just did all this stuff, I played a show, and then I walked backstage, and then all of a sudden, like, my tour manager's sitting in Indian style, like smoking a cigarette in the backstage. I'm like, that's not normal. Oh wait, I'm dreaming. I just dreamt my whole day right now, and now I got to wake up and do my whole day, and it was really wasn't that cool.
That's
so
crazy.
it is something to kind of tread lightly with. I feel like the lucid dreaming stuff.
Oh, you just got to keep working with it until you get like complete control over it or something.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, that's cool. So you fall in love with music, you fall in love with the guitar, you fall in love with this idea of being a musician, and then it takes you down this path. Does it take you quickly towards metal, or do you fuck around in different genres before you settle in and become what you are today?
I'm not afraid to say it. I never meant to be a metal musician.
Okay.
It was never what I meant to be. It was just the easiest genre for me to find a tribe in. Like in where I grew up, there was a huge punk and metal scene that kind of started in like 96. And I was born in 87, so I was too young to be a part of it right then. Mm-hmm. But there was this band called Kettle Cadaver that was there was a movie about Edwin called With Dead Hands Dig Deep, and he was something else. I found this group of people, and they were all really deep in it. They were ages 15 to 35, and there was a lot of them. There was a big group, and they welcomed me in. They called me Stormcrow the Great, and like I was 14, like this young kid, and they saw that I could play guitar, and they were just like encouraging me, and they showed me everything. And it wasn't like I didn't want to be a part of it. It's just that my dad was a jazz guitar player, and my house was definitely more of like musician, like really learning the art of the instrument and that kind of stuff. So I kind of fell into it because I wanted to play with people. I wanted to have a group of people to play with. So,
and that's just the group you happen to bump into.
And that's what it was. And it wasn't like I disliked metal. It was just I was into so much music. Mm-hmm. And I think also my dad kind of instilled, like, you don't need to be a part of a scene, like be your own kind of, find your own lane and do your own thing. So joining a scene or being a part of something like that was kind of it wasn't something I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really have a choice. I was 14 years old. I wanted to go party. I wanted to meet chicks. I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to do the whole thing. So, yeah, I was very lucky to have these older guys who were booking shows, renting venues themselves, booking their own tours, releasing their own records, doing all this stuff, super punk rock, and they showed me how to do all of it. They taught me all of it. They helped me. I started a band with the drummer of Kettle Cadaver, who was 5 years older than me. We started he joined a band that we were already in. It was called Without Restraint. When he joined, we called ourselves From Agony Within, and we rented a little lockout. We wrote music Tuesdays and Thursdays. We tried to play every weekend. He, showed me how to book a show, how to, there's certain venues you can pay them and hire their staff and throw your own show. And we started doing that kind of stuff. And, one thing just led to another, that I became this local metal musician that's what it was. And I was good at it. And we were in the newspaper. We did all kinds of cool stuff, really, really young. Yeah. And then once it got to our first real tour that we booked, we linked up with a band called Bleed the Sky, who's still around. Shout out Bleed the Sky. They offered us shows in Vegas and Utah. So we're like, we're going to play our first shows out of town. We should book shows in San Diego and Orange County and do like some shows before that, book a little mini tour. And I was 16, and those shows would make it so I couldn't go to school on Monday or Tuesday. So I remember that was when I was like, all right, I made it. I'm good. I'm never going back to school again. Had to sit down with my parents and like told them, I'm going to play these shows. And after this, I'm not going back to school. Like, I'm done,
Sure that went over well.
Honestly, it wasn't as bad as you would think, because everything that I'd kind of been getting in trouble for and things that were, like, happening, like, at least I'd been busted with doing so much dumb shit. So, like, once there was, you guys are going to go play shows out of state. My dad's a musician. They kind of understood, and my sister for sure backed me. And I remember her saying, like, if anybody's gonna make it, and if anybody's gonna actually do this and not stop, like he's gonna do it, So I remember she was a part of that conversation. So I dropped out of school, and that was pretty much, I made the pact with myself, like
this is it.
There's
no turning back.
None.
There's only one way ahead.
That's it.
I love how you you got in so much. You were creating so much trouble that the best option for your parents was to let you go on tour in a metal band.
Oh yeah,
at 16.
Oh my God, I'm serious.
It's hilarious.
I'm serious, dude. Like,
they're just looking at you like, well, at least he's gonna have to like have a schedule, and this is gonna keep him out of trouble. Let's get this kid on tour.
It's really true. It's really wild. Like, I don't know how much I even want to share about that. Like, my parents both. It's okay. So, cannabis legal, all this stuff. My mom doesn't really. She's still of the mind that she doesn't like people to know that she smokes weed. But it's like, dude, it's legal, Mom. Yeah. It's legal. You can smoke weed now.
Right.
So. But my parents were both, stoners, and like I didn't really know that until I was in 6th grade, and then this is kind of to explain all the crazy shit I got into. I started stealing weed from my dad and like smoking weed in 6th grade, like really young. Like the first time I tried to smoke weed was 4th grade, and I bought some weed from somebody, and it was not weed, and I wasn't able to get my hands on weed till I stole it from my dad.
Dad had the good shit.
Oh, it was good, dude. Stolen dad weed's the best weed.
Good name.
It really is. But yeah, I mean, when you start smoking weed in 6th grade, it's a cascade. I mean, you really do. You're involved in people that are using drugs. And growing up in Temecula and like the Inland Empire, like Lake Elsinore, like 20 minutes up the road from me, was the meth capital of the world when I was growing up, literally. Yeah. So, all that stuff was easy to find, and I got busted doing all that shit by my parents. Thankfully, never by the law, so I don't have a record or anything. But like, I was always in trouble. I was grounded every single summer from 6th grade till I dropped out of school. Like I was never. All that I was allowed to do was watch movies and play guitar. So that's also kind of good because I got to practice a lot. So,
dude, the parallels of our life is blowing my mind. Right? Same story, dude. Yeah. I mean, not 4th grade, but about 6th grade, and bought some bunk weed my first time. And then my parents didn't have. They weren't stoners, and they didn't have weed around. But eventually, I found some. and started smoking weed. It's same scene. This is Boulder City, Nevada, outside of Vegas. If you were smoking weed, you were hanging out with a certain group, and in that group there were the people. Back then, it was meth.
Yeah.
And then that sort of drifted away, and then the cocaine, and of course there was always the LSD and other things drifting. But there wasn't like different groups. Like, oh, those are the kids that do the cocaine, and those are the kids that smoke the weed, and those are the guys that drink. That was one group, right? So it was all those things happening simultaneously, and I was grounded.
It was fun though, right?
It was super fun. And I was like you, though. I was grounded so much. And that's where I honed my craft as an artist, because I'd be just stuck in my room and I just draw.
Totally.
So it's almost like, looking back, like kind of had to go that way, you know?
Yeah, it worked out. It totally worked out. I used to play guitar till my wrist turned purple, dude.
Wow.
Literally would just play guitar all day, literally all day. I would sit with the TV on, and I would just try to play whatever music was on the TV. Just ear it and listen and try to play whatever was
That's
happening.
cool.
That was like, because I didn't really know what else to do, and I was always mad at my dad because I was in trouble, so I didn't want to ask him to give me a lesson or something.
Like, I'll learn it
Yeah,
myself.
I'm doing it myself.
Need your help. I do need some more weed, though.
When are you leaving? I need to go into your...
That's hilarious, man. No, that's very similar to my story. But so you're 16. What is the band you're in at this point?
That was from Agony Within.
Okay, and you're going on tour. You've got some gigs. You're not going back to school.
Yep.
Parents endorse it.
Yep.
And this is where this is it. This is the gauntlet. I'm throwing it down. This is my life. I'm not turning back.
Yeah, totally.
That's a cool moment.
Yeah, that lasted for a little bit. I mean, I was in From Agony Within for 3.5 years. So just around when I was like 17, I quit that band. I didn't really like the members of the band that much. There was just some like weird shit that had gone down. Oh, this is funny. The bass player of that band, God, I feel so sorry for him, but also don't. Like, he could have been a Major League Baseball player pitcher. He was star pitcher at the high school. He chose not to take the contract and not do all that stuff to play in a band with me and these other dudes.
Whoops.
Yeah.
No. Well, I
Wow.
shouldn't say that.
It sucks for him, dude. And he was, his parents had a super nice house, and they had this side room that we could rehearse in, and we'd party all the time in there. And, so I just didn't really, I saw it as, there was a lot of, I just want to do this to be cool with some of those guys. And I remember at this party, we were all smoking a bowl in bass player's truck, and I remember saying, like, hey, we're playing this show this weekend, like, I'm going to quit the band after this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something different, and I want to, whatever it is, I'm going to be open for it, and I can't do this, And I remember him saying to me, he's just like, well, some of us are made for this, and some of us aren't. And I'm like, okay, So, yeah, I quit that band, started kind of squatting at a friend's house and, like, selling mushrooms and weed out of his house for a few months and, like, just hanging out. And I was without band, which was crazy, for probably 4 or 5 months. And this was MySpace era.
Yeah.
Where MySpace music, like, or before MySpace music, when MySpace was still just like the OG MySpace, it was huge, like, for bands. You could put up music, and if you got it out there the right way, you could be exposed to a bunch of people, and everybody had their MySpace page. We used to take turns, everybody that was kind of squatting at this place, to go use the one computer and go check our MySpaces. And at one point in time, my buddy Daniel Leon, rest in peace, he was like, hey, Mark, Suicide Silence is having tryouts for a guitar player, like, you should try out. And I'm like, I know their bass player.
Because they weren't huge yet. They were something that was being noticed.
This was 2005. I had seen Suicide Silence play a show. I'd seen them play 2 shows. They'd opened for a couple of national acts, God Forbid, and somebody else. But I went to go check them out. I knew who they were. They were a local band. I wanted to go see them. And I saw them, and I remember seeing Mitch, our singer who passed away in 2012. Right. I remember seeing him and immediately being like, whoa, that guy's got it. Like, whatever it is, it was my first interaction with, like, a young future rock star. Like, this guy has something that never seen before. And I've been around a lot of local musicians, you know?
Oh, cool.
So I saw him and it was just like, holy fucking shit, that is something else. So yeah, I knew who they were. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I'll try out for that band. That sounds cool. And I knew they were doing something different. They weren't doing traditional death metal or like what was cool in Orange County at the time, like the metalcore stuff. They were doing something fresh. So yeah, I knew their bass player, who was I think he wasn't even apprenticing. He was sweeping the floors at First Amendment Tattoo, and so I knew him from there. And yeah, I just hit him up, said, hey, I want to try out. Is that cool? And he's like, yeah, come over this day. Went and tried out. Hung out with Chris Garza, the guitar player, the founding member of Suicide Silence, the only original member of the band left in the band nowadays. And yeah, we jammed, played some stuff. The drummer showed up. I loved it because the drummer asked me, what was the last thing you wrote? You know, that's what he wanted to know. What was the last thing you wrote? So I got to like show off some stuff that I had written that was like more metal stuff that I'd been working on. And they were all about it. And they said, all right, we got a show in 2 weeks. Like, here's a CD of us playing a live show. Learn that. That's the set. We're going to rehearse 2 days before, and we'll play the Whiskey. We were playing the Whiskey in Hollywood. I'd played there before, but not with a band that was going to draw a lot of people. You know, maybe I played there in front of 100, 150 people before, but I knew that if I played with them, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really cool show. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they said that'll be your official tryout. You know, we'll see how the show goes.
Right.
Learned the songs. Also, totally, they played super load tuning, like way lower than anything I'd ever done. So I didn't even know how to set my guitar up like that. I was unfamiliar with that, so I had to kind of learn that in those 2 weeks. Like, how do I get this? What gauge strings do I need? All this. I had to learn all that. Figured it out. Learned the songs. The rehearsal before the show, I remember Mitch came. It was the first time that we had really like hung out. Showed up. He took his shoes and socks off before we rehearsed. He had pink toenails, and I was like, "What the fuck is this guy doing? You know, this is weird." And the other thing that was cool about him was that they rocked out at practice. They played like it was a show, and I thought that was so cool. I was like, "Oh, like this is rad!" Like they're like Mitch is running into us while we're playing, and like we're like going at it. And I think they even like had a camcorder and filmed it and would watch it to like make sure it looked cool.
But you're practicing performance art too.
Totally.
Just do it.
Perfect, because metal is a performance art,
Right.
100%.
You can't just stand in one position and play the raddest music ever. You gotta.
Totally. So yeah, we rehearsed, went and played the show, killed it. It was sick. Signed my first autograph after the show, and then literally like pretty much right after that, they were like, "If you want to be in the band, you can be in the band."
You were in.
Here we go. That's it.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's a great story. That's a story of just of following your heart, you know, and not really. I don't hear anywhere in there doubt. You weren't vacillating between, well, you know, I could take over my dad's mortgage company. I don't know, the band's fun. I mean, it was just all in, all the way. And that is so often the story of people that create rad, unique success in life. Yeah, you just have to free fall.
Totally.
And trust the universe will provide, you know. And it did very quickly for you. I mean, hell, at this point, you're 17?
17, yeah.
17 in a very up-and-coming, already strong, but still growing metal band.
Yep.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it too. Like there was no doubt in my mind, just especially because I had seen Mitch, but also just like my mindset at that time. You're young and cocky, and you know everything that you're doing is the best. I mean, that's how I was. Everything you're doing is the best. You know, like everything everybody else is doing is shit. You know, that was pretty much how I was.
You
back
need
then.
that though in the beginning.
Yeah. You got to be full of just piss and vinegar. Just be just all about it.
Well, yeah, because if you actually were contemplative and reflective, you'd probably not do it. Because if you look at it on paper, it's not the most secure choice in life. You have to have the little, I call it crazy. That's how I became a tattooer, you know. Looking back, looking back now, I don't know if I'd have done it because it just, the shit I went through and the gangsters that were around me and the guns and the bullshit. But, you know, just young and dumb enough to be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it. This is fun.
Without a doubt. I
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, 100%. I say that I damned myself back then because in those early days, I used to say, I don't care. As long as I can, like, pay for wherever I'm staying and groceries and my bills are paid,
Yeah.
I'm fine. Like, that's all I need.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty much what my life has been is that, you know? But I mean, that's totally fine. I get to, you know, a day of work for me that I'm satisfied with is, you know, sit down at my home studio and play guitar from 10 o'clock till 10 p.m., you know, like
Right.
in my board shorts, you know? So
Yeah.
that's cool to me. Like, so I did, I was able to do exactly what I willed myself to do, you know, and that's why definitely, you know, when I say words of advice for people that really want to do it, aim big, you know, make sure what you want to do, go huge with it. Because if you have any, like you said, if you have any doubts or you're contemplative about it, like it's probably not gonna go your way. I read all the time, like on Reddit musicians page, like I find people saying like, oh, I tour and I do this and I'm reasonably successful, but I'm depressed and not happy with where I'm at and all this. It's like, it is very common, you know, musicians in our space, they're not happy with what they're not completely happy with what they're doing. And that's tough. I mean, I get in and out of that sometimes, but there's always something that it's like, oh yeah, this is the affirmation here. This is why I'm doing it, whether it's a show or the next contract or a new team member or, you know, whatever it is that happens. It's like, it's always evolving, and it's, you know, as cliche as it sounds, it's all about the journey.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you sound to me like somebody that's really into music for the love of the music. Like, you love playing guitar. Okay,
Totally.
First off, let's start there. You love playing your instrument. I mean, you do it even now, after all these years. If you have some time to kick back, you still play your guitar.
Full day.
And so, like, to me, your love, that type of love for the actual craft and the actual creation of music will keep you happy. Because if you're attached to the idea of fame, or if you're attached to the idea of the girls or the parties and all those things, well, those things come and go. They're sometimes around, they're sometimes not. So that musician is spending sometimes very happy, sometimes depressed, right? But if you're just in love with the creating music, playing your instrument, that's always there.
Yep.
And you don't need to. You can do that right in your own living room, you know. So that,
Totally.
I think, is a part of your secret to success. I like that
I think
tidbit.
so too. Yeah, I actually had to learn that, or teach myself that, because in the early days, one, you don't know how to write a full-length album. You know, that's not something that you're learning how to do when you're young, you know. So when you're 17, 18 years old and you're writing a full-length album, it's the first time you have to write 10 to 15 songs that everyone's going to hear. You're used to writing like, I'm going to write this new song so we can play it at this show this weekend, you know? It's not like a whole body of work that's going to live forever. I would go so hard into writing and working on the music and being in the studio and thinking about the artwork or everything that goes into making an album, that when I would be done with it, where's my energy go? You know, what am I supposed to do now? You know, and I would get super depressed, and I would get really down on myself, and I would know that it's like the end of the process now. I'm like kind of grieving the end of the process. It took me a really long time to learn that I need to stay in a process all the time. Like, I need to be writing, whether it's lyrics or concepts for a song, or concepts energetically, like I want to emote this through a riff, or straight up. And I'm not joking, I love entire days of sitting at my desk and playing guitar. Like, that's a perfect day. Like, it's because it's transcendent. With drawing or anything, when you really get on a good one, you're like, oh shit, 3 hours just went by that I didn't even realize time or anything.
We'll talk about meditation, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, they say the goal of meditation is to stop the monkey mind, the thing that's always up there. Like, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to talk to my wife about that thing that that thing. Why did I do that yesterday? I should have been better. It just grinds you and beats you up all day and makes you worry. Well, then how do you shut that off? Well, some people, I guess, get it through meditation. I'm not a hardcore enough meditator, but I sit down and draw or paint and blink my eyes and it's like dinner time. And I'm like, what the fuck kind of time warp am I coming out of right here? Maybe there is a thought or two, but very little thought.
Yep.
Just pure action.
Yep, I love that.
It's
the coolest thing, and
it's healing.
it's absolutely healing. It's everything. It's for lack of a better term. I mean, it's God. It's like you're being touched by something or connecting into whatever it all is.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. I mean, with music or with guitar, that's a whole thing that's different. Like maybe I'm not working on a song, I'm literally just playing and losing my mind, or like maybe I'm practicing a technique I want to learn or something and go out there. And that is, I've been on those trips of meditation where I've meditated so regularly and just every day and journaled, or maybe even twice a day. And I can compare it to the only times that I've ever had like the monkey brain stop and actually a real successful, like I did something right with meditation, because meditation is doing nothing. Like it's literally, you're doing nothing.
Should be the easiest thing in the world.
It should be.
It's the hardest.
I have tinnitus, so like my ears are always ringing. So
From playing in bands, of course.
So if I know that if I had a successful meditation, it's usually when the ringing comes back.
Yeah, because you're coming back to.
So I'm like, oh, all right, that worked. Like,
I must have been out. I
Yeah.
must have been no thought there for a little while, because
it snaps me right back into life.
right, because no thought. You're not even acknowledging the ringing in your ears.
Yeah,
you're
totally.
you're awake. You're not asleep, but you're whatever. I don't know what it is you are. I mean, you're like a baby. You just are. You know, when you look at little babies, they're meditating all day.
Yeah, right.
They don't know it's a tree. They just see this big thing with green shit sticking off of it, and they're just like, wow.
Totally.
Everything's just wow.
Totally.
They look at their own hands. Wow. Look at what the fuck are these things? You know,
So true. Yeah.
everything's brand new
is,
and no thought. And
Yeah,
then we all go through the same process, right? They start telling you your name, and that's a car, and that's this, and you get addicted to learning what everything is, and then eventually you're like, you have to go back to finding that original place.
The meat journey begins.
Yeah, the meat.
The transient meat journey.
So true, man. No, I often think that a lot of my youthful teenage depression, I treated myself through drawing, because it was I know I was doing. I didn't know I was doing that, but looking back, that's what I was doing. Just teenage angst and pissed off at the world and my parents and everything, and then I would just go draw, and that was my way of escaping and turning that brain off, at least for a few hours, so that I could heal a little bit and get back out there and try another day.
Same. Yeah, I could totally relate to that. Yeah.
It's a form of meditation.
Yeah, and especially when I was really. To go back to when I said I never really meant to be a metal musician, it wasn't that I didn't love metal. I did love metal, and there's so much. I was a metalhead when I was a kid. They used to call me headbanger in school, and that's who I was. And yeah, that being able to listen to heavy music, pick up my guitar, and just unleash,
Let out that.
I'm not. Most metal heads you would meet are pretty nice people, and one, I think it's because you kind of have to break that stereotype, and people think that metalheads are probably mean or whatever it may be, that how people think of metalheads.
Well, they think they are like the music.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So it is it's the other side. Without metal, I don't know where I would put all of that, all of the whatever that angst that I had. I definitely would not be who I am and where I am today without that channel.
Right.
And being able to, God, and when I was young and just seeking out all of that heavy music and learning about all of that stuff, and it was definitely not the way it was now, where you could discover it so easily through YouTube or anything like that. You would have to, go on and find a label from Europe and go on their list and choose a $30 CD, and hopefully it's good, and order it through the mail, and figure out how to do that. Convince your mom to send a check somewhere, where it's like back then, no one's gonna send a check or run a card through the internet. No one was doing. You didn't want to do that in the late '90s, early 2000s. So, yeah, totally. I mean, art is the best cure for depression, and being able to zone in is it's meditation. You don't have to sit and do nothing. You can draw, you can play guitar.
As long as you stop the brain from thinking for just a little bit. But yeah, metal specifically even the fans of metal, I've known a lot of them in my years. They seem to be people that, and all of us carry a certain amount of angst and, just like, fuck, man, because life's hard and complicated. And for, I think metal specifically is a great outlet for all those folks. I mean, you meet those guys all the time. They're just these like tightened up businessmen. And you find out that when they're driving to and from work, they're listening to fucking Cannabis Corpse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what you listen to?
Totally.
And then you get to know the guy and it's like, he tells you about his life and the struggles with his boss at work and his fucking ex-wife and all the shit he's going through. And I'm like, that's why he's listening to that music, because that's his moment to be like, and just let out that whatever he's feeling, I don't know if I think that's unique to metal, really. I mean, if you have that energy in you, are you going to let that out while you're listening to classical? I guess you could, but I think metal attracts more of that type of energy that people are holding to let it out, the people who play it and the people who listen to it. I mean, I'm speaking, you'd know more on that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always kind of felt like it does attract a little bit more damaged people. And me included, like I needing somewhere to kind of put those feelings. That's where they went, and then now being on the other side of it and creating the music and meeting people that it's affecting and helping. I think even more in recent years, it's really, really become more therapeutic for people than early on. Like, maybe it's because in the early days we were a part of like a scene that was hip and we were attracting like hip people, which like was kind of hard for me to be a part of because I was never really the hip guy. And now that it's kind of leveled out and we're kind of old dudes on the block a little bit, you meet people that it's hard for me, honestly. Like I didn't want to sign up to be a psychiatrist or anything, but you get a lot of people pouring out up to you and telling you how
you've changed my life, man.
Yeah, and that's pretty heavy. You have to really you have to be available for that, and sometimes it's hard to be available for that. Right. But yeah, it's really hard to describe because it's not one thing. Everybody has their different reasons why it affects them and why it matters to them. Because not everybody needs to be healed through metal. It's not exclusive. Some people like the novelty of it. Some people like that it is scary to people and they want to be scary to people or something like that.
Right. This is what I listen to.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's never going to go away. Metal is, I think we were talking about this before the podcast, the line in the sand thing, or was that, or did we already, like, if I said it already, but it's like, yeah, metal draws a line in the sand.
Oh yeah, you mentioned it earlier. Yeah.
So like heavy metal, death metal, you could even consider AC/DC and Black Sabbath and like old school stuff. That's also heavy metal. If that's what you're into, that's what you're into. You're on that side of the line in the sand. You're not dancing on both sides, and you choose it, and you're there, and whatever it is, why you're there, it's totally unique, and it's up to you what it is why it resonates with you. And I guess, for me personally, yeah, it started as, I wanted to learn how to play the music. I wanted to learn how to play Back in Black. I wanted to learn how to play Crazy Train, and I wanted damn, that fucking riff is sick. Like, that just sounds so cool.
Yeah. But then it changed into whatever it is for you today.
Writing music. Yeah. Starting to play guitar and wanting to be able to write music. Wanting to be able to, I love this song so much. I want to be able to write a song that makes somebody feel the same way as that makes me feel.
So the band's cruising along. You guys you're now in the band. This is a great break for you at such a young age. This is 2005, and then Mitch passes away. He dies in a motorcycle accident in 2012. So tell me about that. I mean, was it like, well, that's the end of the fucking band? Because you guys are still here, so obviously you made it through it. But
I mean,
and you already had said like he was special. Like he was the the guy. He had the thing, the magic or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
Not that the rest of you didn't, but I mean, I get the feeling that this guy was the leader. He was the one that dragged the momentum forward. So you got that important of a character, and he's a lead singer. Come on.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah,
And
it's so funny when you're in it, you don't realize how much of a visionary someone is.
Mm-hmm.
You usually, more so for me, focus on like the things that annoy you. Like, you know, it's like, man, these lyrics, are you sure that's the right lyrics for this song? You know, like that kind of stuff. And then it ends up being the biggest song you've ever, you know,
You're like,
you
oh,
ever put
he
out.
saw
Like,
something I didn't see.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
okay, that's pretty cool. No, God, yeah, Mitch was special, man. And him and I and everybody, I mean, I don't want to say, I bet everybody in the band would agree with me. Like, him and I somehow linked together in a way. One, it was partying, and two, it was like a common how we wanted to portray ourselves to bring the band to the level we wanted to be at. Mm-hmm. And we would be the ones that would like fly all over the world to do press tours when we would release a record, and we'd spend a lot of time together and talk about these things and talk about like the next what we were going to be doing, talk about plans and stuff like that. But we would party our fucking faces off, and we were animals like that. And yeah, we went hard. We went super, super hard. When he passed, we were pretty much at the peak of, you know, abusing ourselves, for sure. And it was super, super tragic. It was, you know, I remember, even though we were both animals, the November 1st, the day that he died, it was really early in the morning. We were supposed to have a session in the studio where we were going to record 2 songs, just like demo out 2 new songs. And it was Halloween, and it was kind of a dumb move of us to even book studio November 1st. We knew we were going to party on Halloween and probably be hungover and shot. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it easy on Halloween. I'm going to go home at like 10 and, you know, get some sleep. And I got the phone call on the way home that, you know, Mitch got in an accident. The only information we have is he has multiple dislocations. And I'm like, that doesn't sound fucking good at all. Mm-mm. And I basically just went home and laid in my bed, like just scared to go to the hospital or be a part of that, because I was terrified. Just laid there awake. And then got a call at 4 a.m. that, you know, he's not going to make it. And if you want to, you know, come see him, you know, you got to come now. Like, now is like an hour and a half to Temecula, Orange County, where he was at. So I did that. And then, you know, saw him, you know, on the operating table, because they operated on him for a long time, tried to keep him alive. And yeah, that was super traumatic. Seeing that was, and that's a whole other story with my future kind of dealing with that kind of stuff. It was awful. It was terrible. And that was, yeah, I thought, you know, this is probably the end. We're probably not going to be able to put this back together. I don't see how we would. He's so important to it. And, yeah, that was also at the point where I took my stash of shit and threw it in the toilet, flushed it. I looked at him dying as like
time to change my lifestyle.
I got
Was his death associated with? I mean, he was in a motorcycle accident, right? Was he drunk or something, or did they even know? Or
my answer to that always is because there's like a misunderstanding of people say he was drunk riding his motorcycle. Like, not a day went by where we didn't have a couple beers or
Right.
like wake up and pop a couple Norcos
Right.
or like do
so
something.
you knew, like, it wasn't so much the acute event of what happened that night. This was our day-to-day lifestyle. And was the accident his fault, or did he just? Because sometimes people they didn't do nothing wrong. A car just runs a red light and takes you out.
It was his own. He was a hothead, and he got on the bike angry. And he just took a turn super. He had that Harley for like, I don't even know, not even a couple of months, you know. But we were dumb, dude. Like, we would drive down the freeway. I had a BMW, and he had his Harley, and I'd like take a video of him while we're driving down the freeway, like going way too fucking fast. We were just dumb, dude. You know.
Right.
So it wasn't like a surprise, but I mean, it was a shock, but it was almost like, fuck, of course this happened.
Something like when you're running around doing shit like that, something like that's bound to happen eventually to somebody.
Yeah. And I've said it too. If it wasn't him, it probably would have been me. Like there would have, like we partied stupid. We were dumb. And it goes back to, I think, why him and I like linked so hard is I think we both didn't really aim to make it too much past like 30. We didn't really care. We were those types of people. We just didn't. We were going so hard. We just didn't care. Mm-hmm. And yeah, his whole passing definitely woke me up and put me on a whole other. It didn't put me on a different path, actually. It more so made me lean into my authentic self and find who I really was, and not lean into I need to be the party guy so that I can like fit in, or like I need to do this so that I can be. When you're growing up and you want to be a rock star, you want to be a musician, you want to be a rock star, but it's like I wanted to play guitar, I wanted to play music. Sure, all the other stuff comes with it, like what you were saying before. It kind of comes and goes. It wasn't my main thing that I wanted to be a party animal rock star, coolest dude at the party. Like that wasn't who I really wanted to be. So when Mitch died, it was like soul search time. Figure out how to shine the light on, really who I am. And I think your authentic self will always outshine your whatever it is, your imposter syndrome, or seeking to be whatever you think you should be. Like it'll always shine through. And that took a long time to kind of figure it out, or I still am on that path of figuring it all out. But yeah, the story as it went, we all as a band, we decided to take time off and meet up once a month and check in on each other and see where everyone was at. And in the 4th month, we all said we should keep the band together. We should figure it out. And then that's when we said that if our friend Eddie Hermida, who was singing in All Shall Perish, they were the first support band that when we did our first full U.S. Canada tour, they were our support band that we knew we wanted to tour with. It wasn't like we want to bring you guys out. It was more like, hey, we're doing the same thing. Let's go tour together. It wasn't like we're going to bring you on tour kind of thing. It's like we were friends and going to go out. And we just knew that if he's in the band, probably is not going to be the best response from the fans, because people love Mitch. Not everybody knows who he is. He doesn't look like him. He has barely any resemblance, but he's a sick singer and we can get along with him. And we knew that if we wanted to continue the band forever, we weren't going to bring somebody in we didn't know very well, and we weren't about to have tryouts because we just didn't want to do that. We didn't want to open the position, Mitch's position, up to anybody,
right.
And Mitch and Eddie had, they got tattoos together. They taught each other vocal techniques and all kinds of stuff. So there was all this connection. So yeah, we offered it up. Also, I gave Ben Oram, who's like their OG in their band, their guitar player, I gave him some DMT on Mayhem 2011, and he smoked DMT, and the DMT told him that he should probably take a break from the band and take care of himself, so he quit the band. And when I saw that Ben quit, I was like, well, if Ben's quitting, All Shall Perish is kind of falling apart. I think Eddie would probably join the band.
Damn, so, divine intervention right there.
Yeah. So yeah, Eddie joined the band, and those 2 songs that we were meant to go write, that we never made to the studio, there was one set of lyrics that Mitch had already wrote, and it was called You Can't Stop Me. And we had these lyrics, and we had these 2 songs, and it was up to us to figure out which one of these songs was he writing these lyrics for. And it was dead obvious which one it was. And then we wrote a record called You Can't Stop Me and put that record out with his lyrics on it. And that was the beginning of the next chapter, which is, God, gives me chills again.
It's giving me chills, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's because it's become such a story. It's hard for me to even tell it as a story, because it's like so much more important than just the story.
Right. Try to capsulate it up for the podcast. It's too.
Yeah. It's the same thing again, and because we've talked about psychedelics, it's like a similar thing to that. It's like try to explain what some of those things do. having something like that happen in your life is so comparable to that. And trying to tell that story, it's so difficult. And I've said it a million times. And it's impossible to emote, what it all really means and how it all felt.
And it's not even done. It's still the waves of it are in effect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but then I understand that the subtleties and the layers to an event like that, and the beautiful way that the universe filled in the void. That story is really cool. It's like,
gnarly.
you hate to talk about someone's tragic death, like, oh, everything happens for a reason, because I do think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And if it is true that we're eternal and we live forever, then death should be okay. I mean, we're all going to do it. Let's face that.
Sure.
I mean, when? Who knows? How? Who knows? Mitch did it that time in his way. But it's, you have to, I don't know, maybe Mitch had other places to be, and Eddie needed to be here, and you needed to learn. And like you said, I mean, there's so many what ifs. Like if Mitch hadn't passed, you'd still be, rolling hard. Maybe something would have happened there. I don't, you'll never know. But it goes, I always go back to everything happens for a reason. And I always say that gently because you have people out there that have suffered tragedies that are far beyond anything we're talking about right now, Yeah. And I always have to say to my audience, like, look, I get it. If your children died in a boating accident or something, I'm not trying to take away the horror of something like that. But I know I'm 51 and I've seen so many events like this go down and watched so many things happen after the event that seemed like natural and like it needed to all fall. The cards needed to fall out that way somehow. I don't know how to put that into words, and I don't want to be disrespectful either to your friend. But
what someone said to me, which was John Montgomery, my tattoo artist friend, who also did all of Mitch's tattoos, which it surprised me that he was so poignant soon after Mitch died, but. What he said, he was like, Mitch will teach you more after he's died than he ever would have if he would have stayed alive. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. And it's 100% true. And I think about that with, that everything happens for a reason kind of thing. Like everything is there. The world is your teacher, it absolutely is. There's nothing else. So
reality is the teacher.
So and if that's also the case with death, I mean, then death is the biggest teacher. So who knows what that really means? But when someone has a tragedy, whether it's kids or anything like that, I don't want to sound blanking on the word,
callous or uncaring.
Callous, sure. But it's so hard to swallow that, but that's going to be one of the biggest, teachers in your entire life, whatever those massive changes are,
So when the band came back together, was there a different attitude? Like the whole party boy stuff is sort of simmered down a little bit. It's a little more like, all right, let's sober up a little, guys.
So much.
Okay.
Big time, yeah.
And I'm sure the music you created after, I mean, when you drop, and my career, same thing. Young tattoo artist Aaron and the guys we were running with, it was half party, half art, and that's just the way it was. Maybe it was us wanting to be cool or just our youth, I guess, just being young and full of too much energy. But and my reasons for that to slow down are different. But when it slowed down and when I just made that turn, like, okay, what are you? Are you trying to become something special as an artist, or are you just using art as a platform to party? And I flipped
Totally.
it. And when I flipped it, I could almost look through my portfolio and you could see the year it happened. It's like the art just went, way better, in my opinion. Is that what happened for the music, or did...
It's hard to say because we were so young too that when Mitch died, I was 24. I'd really only been kind of professional playing guitar for 6 years, and probably hadn't even been, I'd just barely been playing guitar for 10 years, and I think I've been getting better as an artist and becoming a better songwriter, guitar player all the time. I think Mitch's passing brought our band tighter, of course, those things bring you super tight. We all dealt with it way differently. Not everybody went the clean and sober route. some people dealt with it with alcohol and drugs, and just, that's how it went. But the thing was, I quit drinking. I quit doing really hard drugs. I was smoking a lot of weed, but pretty much what happened for me was we had like a whole year, a little over a year without touring, a lot of time to soul seek and learn new things. And, I grew weed, and like, that was also a crazy cathartic thing that I found this passion of like, wow, I really like plants. Like I really like growing weed. Like I saw the lifespan of a plant, like grew my first crop and like saw it from seed to smoke. And that was beautiful and cool and really awesome. But then once we wrote a record, that was awesome because now, since the group was tighter, we were writing more as a unit. And it was something that Mitch and I had spoke about before we were going to write a record where we were going to work together more on lyrics. He always wrote all the lyrics. Maybe a little thing here and there someone would change or tell him how to sing. It's barely, just like minuscule. But we were about to kind of collaborate more. So that's what we did on the next record. We collaborate. We had to now. We have a new singer. We want to work with him and help him do stuff. And, so we wrote a record much more collaboratively. And that, I think, is where maybe my artistry kind of took a step in a better direction, was because instead of trying to like own the song, this is my song, it was like, let's work together on this and make this our music. And that's where it's become like where we're at now. It's like, let's try to write hone our sound even more. But when it came to touring and being out and in the world of maniac shit, the first tour we did was in Australia, Soundwave. We were on tour with Green Day and Avenged Sevenfold and like all these huge bands. The Soundwave was playing in front of 50,000 or 60,000 people every show. And you get the whole rock star treatment. Everything's really cool. And Tanner Wayne was with us, who did this podcast. He was our drum tech at that time. Right. Perfect time for him and us to like be touring together like that. We were all on this like cool path. And yeah, that's where I started feeling so out of place. I was sober. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to hang out with. All my friends, we would drink, get fucked up, party all night. Didn't know what to do. And so I kind of found certain people that I knew that even if they were drinking or they were partying, I knew that I could like talk to them about it. And that is where I talked to my buddy Liam, who plays bass in the Dillinger Escape Plan. Well, they're not together anymore, but classic, sick band, super influential. We worked on records with the same producer as them, so we kind of had like a family vibe with them. And I was talking to him about it, and he was like, you know what, I think it sounds like you should try ayahuasca. And I'm like, I've always wanted to try ayahuasca. Yeah. And another crazy synchronicity was he was like, I just met this dude at Burning Man. And of course, and he was like, I'll put you in contact with him. And then I get home from tour, I got an email, and they're like, I talked to Liam, and we're actually in Joshua Tree in 1 week. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I guess I'm gonna go drink ayahuasca in Joshua Tree. Dope. And that was exactly what I needed, was like to find the right kind of, in my head at that time, the right kind of party, the right kind of thing that's going to, help me figure out what's going on right now. And yeah, it's another one of those things. It's like, you can't really explain what those situations are like and what they really, really do to you. And the only way that I've chosen to explain that is that it or she, the spirit of ayahuasca and the ceremony and what she shows you, is exactly what you need at that time in your life. And there's no bullshit. It's telling you exactly what's going on in your head and exactly what you need. And that set me right. That began a 4-year, I'm on this path, super into it. Like I got way into it. I sat probably 80 times in like 4 years, drank like 200 cups of ayahuasca.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't
like,
know you went that.
I
that
went
deep.
super hard. And it was very meaningful and helped me out a lot. And also with the art though, and people, we had a record that we wrote that was full experimental, and I would say that the ayahuasca was a big reason why. Was it gave us the courage to go, you know what, like people like they want us to do this, like, well, we want to do this time. And then like everybody hated it. Like commercially it was a terrible record. Like didn't normally we would, you know, sell 15,000 CDs in a week. That one sold 4 in the first week. And like people come up to us and say like, oh, I love that record, like it's so cool, like it's so cool that you guys would like shoot your career in the face and just say fuck you to everybody, like that kind of shit. So but yeah, I mean, and then again, it's just all back to that. Like, it's so much about the journey and like how not doing it for it's all for your music is kind of selfish, you know. It's like if you're doing it truly, like art is kind of selfish. If you're doing it truly for yourself, it doesn't involve any fan or anybody that is going to listen to it. And this is a crazy thing to say, but like the biggest sellout thing you can do in music is try to cater to your fan base. Because then you're not doing anything pure unless you are on the same wavelength as your fan base, which I'm kind of dancing around, but that record that we did that nobody liked, it reminded us like, yo, you guys are super good at being just heavy as fuck and writing sick, crazy shit. Like, so then we realized like, well, that's what we should be doing. That's fun. We have fun doing that. So then we started writing even better heavy music because of that weird record.
Sometimes you got to step away from the thing to realize how much you still love that thing.
Totally.
You know,
totally.
You took that break, had your little expressive moment, and then looked back and, well, that was fun too. You know,
Yeah.
That's cool. And Ayahuasca was part of that. Was it the
Big
whole
time.
band that was in the ayahuasca movement, or was it you solo?
I tried to get a lot of the guys to go do it, but the only one I could was Chris Garza, the guy that started the band. I brought him, and we did one full weekend together. And oh yeah, dude, I know for sure it totally helped him out, changed him a lot, and you know, gave him a new set of skills and showed him a little bit more of he was always kind of the more sober guy in the band. He would party, like for sure. He would get drunk and every once in a while, you know, maybe do a line of coke or something, but like he was way more straight than the rest of us. And I think once he saw that, oh wow, like there's this kind of, you know, compounds out there, not just alcohol and coke, you know.
Right.
So like it really opened his eyes and brought us closer together. He saw more of me, you know, and we're the guitar players in the band. We're like, you know, the main songwriters. So without the riff, there's nothing. So
it's good that you guys have that unique bond in the ayahuasca realm, right? Because you guys are the two guitar players and the guys who are writing the riffs. That's interesting, man. And man, you went deep. That's crazy. I've never met anyone that's done that much of that. I've never done it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we'll have to talk later because I had plans to go somewhere. Someone lined me up with it, and I had scheduling issues. But it's on my list for sure. I mean, everyone I've ever talked to that's done ayahuasca, it's just nothing but positive vibes. Like everyone's like, it's great. It's just good.
it is.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say that I feel like everyone should do it. Obviously, there's like certain people that shouldn't, and people that are on antidepressants and certain things like this. If you're really in the know of all that stuff, there's certain people that shouldn't do it, but schizophrenic people. But yeah, I hesitate to say. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like it's meant for humans to experience that. Maybe even if it's only for like the one round, whatever it is. I feel like we've lost that kind of rite of passage of like something that crosses you into, dare I say, real life. You know, it's like that shit is way more real than the transient meat journey we're on, you know.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I think it was before the podcast, but I was mentioning that, you know, they've done the studies. Every every group of people on planet Earth throughout history has done adaptogens or hallucinogenics, and it's only as of late in these last couple hundred years where we just removed them.
Yeah.
And you know, my younger years, I used to be like, that's fucked up. That's why people are so uncompassionate and, you know, uncaring and lack of empathy that we see in the world. But World War II and Vietnam, but then, you know, obviously you can go back to when people were doing those drugs and they still warred and they still killed each other. So it's not like it made utopian existence, but when we removed them, it seems like the last 200 years, it's just the progress of war escalates to like world war. So it's massive. We're dropping atomic fucking bombs now and shit like this. I mean, this is another level, right? And then, but through that, we invent, you know, war drives science, and science ends up, we end up getting the internet. We end up being able to travel into space. I sometimes wonder if it was like earlier I said everything's meant to be, maybe, right? So the adaptogens kind of come out of culture. Culture goes to, you know, takes war to a new level, but through that we progress science to this crazy level that we're at now. Whether that's good or bad, we shall see. AI, I mean, God, I can't even go there. Every episode we'd have to start another show for AI. But we are here now, and we do have laser beams, and we do have spaceships, and we do have fucking the internet, and we do have AI, and we have all these really powerful technologies. Technologies that really, if you think about it, if they're applied correctly with compassion, with empathy, could solve the world's problems. AI could, you know, all these issues. How do we get enough food for people? How do we get enough fresh water? I mean, this thing they're building could probably, in the next couple of years, you could just type in best water filtration system for this particular area of Africa, and it could go rut and give you the answer.
Right.
That's it. Oh, God, we never thought of that. We just got to divert that river to here, pool it there. This is the machine that will filter it, and this is how we're going to, you know, boom, we just solved a water crisis in Ethiopia or whatever the fucking thing is. And so as hallucinogenics seem to be coming back on the scene, like really strongly,
Totally.
I wonder if it's the timing is perfect in a weird way. Here we've got these powerful tools. To invent those tools, maybe we had to remove the hallucinogenics, because the thing about that is I don't know if a bunch of people sitting in ayahuasca circles are really going to go out and make, you know, space travel and laser beams and, you know, it doesn't seem to be the focus. You almost have to give that job to the guy who doesn't do that shit and is just hyped up on Adderall and coffee. And he's the guy that builds the internet, right? I mean, then again, Steve Jobs did his fair share of LSD.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But still, I just sense this magic of the hallucinogenics coming back into culture right in sequence with AI and all these powerful computer technologies. So we'll see. We'll see if this is the beginning of our demise or if we're right on the edge of like the big breakthrough moment for humanity.
If you want, what I kind of feel like is happening, I feel like the whole world is going into this grid of internet and connectivity, and the world becomes so small because now we're so connected to each other. Everything is getting, just more connected, and probably what the resurgence of all this stuff is going to end up doing is it's going to make it so that if you are the kind of person that sees that maybe all of this stuff isn't exactly, you don't want to be in the city, you don't want to be connected to all this stuff, it's kind of the beginning of, there is going to be a renaissance, there already is, a renaissance of non-connectivity, and to be kind of more connected, or what you want to be connected to is Earth. You know, you want to be connected to nature, that like the AI and all of this stuff. The real technology is already is nature, you know, like biomimicry, like we're what we're doing to make army vests and stuff is literally taken right from either a tree or a lobster shell, and you're making some sort of, you know, new bulletproof vest. I feel like
Nature already makes all these things perfectly.
Nature already makes everything perfectly. Every drug you're taking started as an alkaloid that was a plant of some sort. Every single thing you take, it is not, just because it says synthetic doesn't mean it was synthetic first.
Right,
you know?
right.
And I feel like nature, it is nature there. The psychedelics and the entheogens, those our nature telling you that nature is always going to be there, and to maybe don't plug in so quick. You know, I feel like that's a little bit of young people want to be connected, you know, so that's gonna happen. You know, there's gonna be us old dudes that are like, nah, I don't care. I don't need MapQuest in my head or whatever. I don't need Google Maps, you know, in there. Like, I could set my phone over there and get it when I need it. And yeah, the psychedelics and the entheogens, that is Mother Nature, some sort of divine intervention. That's like you're saying, it's there for a reason. Like, I feel like that's what is happening. And right now it's kind of funny because you look at a lot of the people that are kind of a part of the new age of spirituality, and you look at how all that is, and you don't want to be putting face paint on and hugging trees and stuff. That's not for everybody, but being separated enough that you're not a computer, you're not plugging in, you know, like that's just the direction I see of where it's.
No, I get what I think what I hear you saying is, look, you got to have the aptogens and hallucinogenics can put you back to the place where you realize what you actually are. You're a human being on Earth. Mother Earth is our mother. The plants, that this is what's really important. And then you can view technology as like a carpenter views a hammer. I mean, imagine a carpenter who literally never took his tool belt off. He's having dinner, and it's like, what the fuck's this guy doing with his tool belt on? You know, and that's how I look at technology. I think aptogens and hallucinogenics can give us help. It's going to help this younger generation because they are born plugged in. Totally. So it's easy for my kids. I watch them. I wonder if they'll, like, I have a past of no internet, no phone. And the only way to entertain myself was to go out and kill bugs and catch lizards and, you know, just play with nature. And so that's in me because I'm 51 years old. My kids, they got a little bit of that. It's not like I've never taken them on a hike, but it is different. The technology is infused. It's part of their reality 100%. So I think the hallucinogenics is a divine intervention to some regard to remind people that it's a tool. Use it to help you. Use it to build a log cabin. Like, you know, imagine if you do want to live off the grid. Fucking AI app's going to be great. I mean, you're going to need to know how to build a log cabin, how to burn the right kind of firewood, what kind of shit can I kill, how do I skin a deer. I mean, all you need is like maybe a satellite connection, and you could really survive off the grid with these tools. So I don't know. And I know you don't know either. I don't think any of us know. But to me, it's just something very. I think we're in the middle of something very poignant. And I think the hallucinogenics are part of this story. Same. And the fact they're coming in so strongly, so quickly. I mean, you know this from being in the ayahuasca circles. I've been told this by people who talk to the shamans. I mean, they're saying that the Mother Ayahuasca told them to bring it to the West now. That's the story. Like, it was like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. The shamans are down in South America doing ayahuasca. Suddenly, Mother starts saying the same message to each guy independently. Take this to the West. Take ayahuasca to the West.
Getting chills.
You've heard, you know that story.
Yeah. How do I say this without maybe saying, the person that I have sat with, when he was called to learn how to serve the medicine and open a ceremony, or what it was, when he was called to the medicine, when he showed up in when he went to South America to seek out the teacher, he found a teacher, and the teacher told him, I was expecting a white person from Europe to come here and try and find me, and I was told to teach him everything that I know, and that was the person that I sat with,
and so he could take this back to.
So he could bring it. So it's exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, like the medicine told the shaman in South America that you're going to have to teach everything you know to a Western person who's going to come from Europe.
Mm-hmm. And it's a bunch of those dudes. And that's why there are these things happening in Riverside and Joshua Tree and all over the country, really.
Yeah.
It's infiltrated.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah. And it's even gaining this cool mystique. Like, you know, it used to be if you were going to be a badass entrepreneur, there were certain things you definitely had to do and people you needed to meet. And now on that list is, oh, what have you what hallucinogenics have you done? You want to crush it in business? Have you done
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
that's rad, you know, because and I mean, come on, and it teaches one of the lessons in all hallucinogenics is empathy and compassion, and basically seeing yourself in everything. You're me, I'm you. We're all connected in one symbiotic system. We got to take care of the water. We got to take care of our humans. We got to take care of the animals. I mean, if there's a time this planet needs to get a little more of that, it's kind of now, right?
100%.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, look. These rabbit holes, dude. We could go. That one could go for hours.
I know, yeah.
We might have to do a part 2, me and you.
Yeah, I'm down.
Let's switch it up a little bit. So, chats and tattoos. You obviously have a lot of tattoos. I don't see all of them, but just right here, you've been getting tattooed. I can tell by, I've been doing this a long time. I can see the age of some of these by the style. Like, that's definitely 94. That's not, And I do want to talk about the flying saucer on your hand. But what was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo was on my leg, and it's the Grim Reaper playing a piano.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike Ferguson tattooed me, owner of First Amendment Tattoo.
Yeah,
that was my first tattoo. Yeah, he's an actor now.
Is he?
Yeah, he's an actor.
Good for him.
Yeah, he tattooed me. I remember going in, and it was like right when I turned 18, and I'm like, I'm tattooing my leg. He's like, arm. And I'm like, my leg. He's like, arm. I'm like, nope. He tattooed. Yeah, he did my leg. That was my first one, and it was kind of just like I was doing metal stuff. I was playing in metal bands. I'm like, I'm gonna get like a death playing music tattoo. It was my first tattoo. I mean, I've got so many dumb tattoos too. I've got this mushroom in my ear. Once I did like a sleeve tattoo and wanted to like do a big piece, I was young and I had this idea. I'm like, I'm going to get like a weed seed on my hand and this crazy storm growing in the tree and these faces growing out, mushrooms in the tree,
Right.
And I had this whole thing and I was like super passionate about it. Like when you first start getting tattooed, you want them all to have a meaning. Maybe everybody wants all their tattoos.
It's common.
Maybe everybody wants all their tattoos to have a meaning.
Some do.
Sometimes you're just like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to do this panda here on my ankle. But Nate Asteris did this, who was also working at First Amendment. He's in Iowa now. We knocked this out like super quick. Did like 4 or 5 sessions. That was super cool. I mean, I'll never forget like doing the hand tattoo, because 18 years old, so 2006. That was still kind of like, nowadays everybody will tattoo their necks and that's like job killer, but
Right.
like when I got this, I remember that was like job killer. You're never going to be able to get a job.
At that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a statement.
Yeah, so
that was
like,
I'm never coming back to your world.
That's totally what it was. And it was just like, all right, like this is my commitment. I'm going to go on tour forever, that's all I'm doing. So that's where that started. This is my wedding ring. This is my wife's first initial, Sabrina.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we
Right on.
we never did rings. We just tattooed.
Why the flying saucer on your left hand? I asked that only because your hallucinogenic experience and saucers and aliens. I don't know. Where's your take on that?
Well, I've definitely seen some things.
That's where I was wondering if you would go there.
Definitely seen.
I've never
things.
seen I want to see it. I believe in aliens. I believe in UFOs. But I blindly believe. I go out in the desert. I beg for them to show up. I've never seen. You've seen
A couple of times, dude.
Really?
I think that when I was really young, there's a possibility that I was abducted by aliens.
Oh shit.
Yeah, when I was very young. Because when I was like 4 or 5, here's the story. So my parents had a cabin in Palomar Mountain.
Okay.
And I guess it's that way from here. And we would go up there every weekend, and I have this weird memory of when I was young of being like afraid of the sky at night. And I don't know where it came from. I have no idea what it was. And I have like a small memory of like what seems like a dream of being in a doorless room and like being on like a table. And this is crazy to talk about, but like, yeah, I feel like it's very possible that like at a really young age, I may have been abducted by aliens, because then I've always had this like fascination with them and read books and all kinds of stuff. And I read this book, the history of UFOlogy, which like real UFO research is UFOlogy. There's actually chronological. You can like, it's not just random people saying whatever. There is a story behind it. And the beginning of UFOlogy started on Palomar Mountain.
No shit.
And this dude, I forget his name right now, but he would always go look out in the sky. And the very first like abduction on record is this guy who was up there, and he was looking at the sky. He saw a something flying through the sky, decided to get in his car, follow it, ended up being almost to Arizona in the middle of the 10 freeway. And the craft landed, and a humanoid looking alien, long blonde hair, asked him if he wanted to go on a ride with him. And like they went into this craft, and he showed them all around like space, and they went like basically got abducted in a good way and shown a bunch of stuff. And that's the beginning of UFOlogy. And I didn't learn that until I was like 20. And I'm like, damn, like, is that connected to my like fear of the sky and Palomar Mountain? Like, is there any sort of connection there? No idea, but it's super crazy talk, and it's weird to say it. And then the other strange thing is when we were on tour, 2007, we were driving through New Mexico, of course. And it was this night where we swapped some crew members with one of the bands that we were on tour with. So it was like kind of like a party drive. And we were like smoking weed and hanging out and driving down the road. And we weren't on drugs. We weren't like, sure, we were stoned. But the weird thing about this story is that some people have chosen to like black this memory out of their mind, because it was really, really weird. People got scared. We saw this 3-headlighted, looked like a car, doing like a vert motion, and like it would go like this, and then it would turn and then come back down, and then go like this and turn back down. A lot of people say like, oh, it could have been like a crop duster. It's like, dude, it was like 2 a.m. Why would there be this crop duster? And it was always staying the same distance in front of us, and we were just watching it for minutes. Like everybody was awake. Or anybody that was sleeping in the van, we woke them up and told them to look at it. Those were the people who got super scared. They're like, what the fuck is that? We watched this thing for a while, and it was minutes, like definitely minutes. We were watching it, and it was always just a distance ahead of us. And eventually it went up and like went over and behind us and just like totally disappeared. And then the next day we talked to the band that was driving behind us. It wasn't full caravan. They were maybe like a few, like 10 miles behind us or something. And they said that they got tailgated by what seemed like a motorcycle. And the motorcycle was really, really close up behind them. Band's called Stick to Your Guns. If anybody wants to reach out to them and ask them, they got tailgated by what seemed like a motorcycle, and it got really, really close to them, and they were just weirded out, like, what is going on right now? And then eventually it just slowed down and then just disappeared and was behind them, and that was the most intense sighting I've seen.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I love stories like that, dude. I love that. You're lucky. I mean,
that's not
I don't
the only
know.
one, dude. There's other ones. Crazy. Yeah.
Well.
4th of July, again with Rico, dude, that I was doing DMT with in 2011. We were watching from the top of this hill. We were watching fireworks at Pechanga Casino. And for some reason in my head, I'm like, I feel like I should look behind me in the sky right now for some reason. I turned around, I saw this weird light kind of like moving around, and I'm like, hey guys, like look, like what is that? You know, and everybody looks and they're like, whoa, what the fuck is that? That's super weird. And then again, I've got this like kind of feeling. I'm like, watch, it's just gonna disappear right now. It's just gonna go away, and then disappeared, and everyone's like, what the fuck was that? So I totally believe. I
mean, if you did get abducted when you were young, I mean, this could be one of them stories where they're just checking in on all their peeps.
Could be.
You know.
Hey, I'm down.
I mean, why would you keep seeing them? You know, people are lucky to have one undescribed or unknown encounter, and now you got more. It sounds like too, but those are 3 prominent ones.
Dude, yeah, it's kind of strange. It's another one I don't typically even tell people about. Just kind of weird.
Well, it's getting more normal. I mean, the documentaries that are coming out right now, and the new evidence is coming out. It's funny how people just don't even really give it much attention, but it's pretty. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's like they're telling us what's going on, and no one seems to even care. It's like we're numb.
I was surprised by that when that all that Navy information came out in 2021, and
Right.
like the 8-page paper, even though it didn't really say much other than like we have 146 open cases and sightings, and they say they're looking into them, and then it was like no one gave a shit.
Yeah. But I think it has to do with the amount of information we're inundated with.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if that story had come out in the 50s, it'd be the story
Yeah.
mixed with 2 other stories.
Totally.
Now it's a story mixed with 8,000 stories, and
Right.
just the information is so much that I don't know. People just like, whatever, man. Fucking maybe there is aliens, and they're just on to the next thing.
100% we're desensitized.
Yeah, that. But the alien agenda seems to be getting more and more. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like we're gonna get I think in my lifetime we're gonna see one, or they're gonna land and be like, all right, here we are, everybody.
I think so too.
I do too.
I hope so.
If they're benign, which I would assume a really evolved species would be relatively benign, because to get really evolved, you probably have to be pretty cooperative and compassionate to evolve to that level of development. So I would assume they wouldn't be like, we're here to take your babies or kill you all. I would assume. So yeah, if they were to show up right now or in the near future, we could probably use some help. You know, it'd be nice for them to land and be like, "Look, guys, we've been watching from above, and it's time for us to kind of intervene. You guys are,
That would be the best.
It would
That
be.
would be
You know,
cool.
they talk
That'd be
about
cool.
them always being above nuclear facilities, as
yeah.
if they're trying to keep tabs. They shut down nuclear. Well, we don't know if they did it, but there's they see the craft and then all the equipment shuts down. It's like they're saying, like, you guys start shooting off nukes, we're not gonna let you do that. We're gonna let you fuck around. And it's kind of like watching two kids, like you have 2 sons and you let them fight, but then you're always right there. It's in case as they get older, you're like, okay, break them up. You know, Jimmy just grabbed a kitchen knife. Enough already.
Right. Totally.
So we'll see. Hopefully, it would be. I like my life to be a wild ride, and aliens showing up in our lifetime would certainly be
the best.
a nice chapter.
It would be the best. It'd be the best. I mean, what was that thing in Canada? They never said when we shot that thing down. We shot down like some object.
Oh, it was a
never told
Chinese-
us what it was. They never said it was another one of the balloons or anything.
Yeah, they just got quiet.
Yeah, just like, what was that? I think it was 2 or 3 things they shot down.
You see the new doc? I think what's the new one? It just came out. It's about the incident down in South America and Brazil, which I never knew about this one. I think, oh God, I'll look it up for you later. It's killer. I got it off a podcast, watched it the other night, and it's about this alien craft that went down in Brazil, I think in the late 90s.
I'm so down.
Oh, dude, the evidence on this one, the interviews, it's insane. Like, you just get done, you're like, that fucking happened.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
These people, you can see, have no interest in being on camera. They're in this little farm town in the middle of Brazil. They're just like, get the fuck away from me. But they're like telling you, yeah, man, it landed there, and there was these little dudes that came out, and they chased them down, and U.S. helicopters landed in our town. We've never seen a helicopter in this town ever.
Yeah.
3 different UN helicopters land. A bunch of people show up. Shit gets taken, and it's all... You're like, oh, what? Explain that. You know,
right.
What is the U.S. aircraft doing landing in a farm town in Brazil right after? On and on.
Totally.
I'll get the name. I can't think of it
I wanna
offhand.
see it.
Super good. Right on, man. Well, we're gonna switch it up. I think we're doing a tattoo today.
Hell yeah.
A flying V guitar with the stem turning into mushrooms.
Yeah.
Which are what are they? Those are called the penis envies.
Those ones look more like golden teachers.
Golden teachers. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
was
yeah,
thinking of.
yeah.
You would know. Look at that
A
connoisseur
little
over here.
A little bit. Yeah. The flying V. I just got my first signature Jackson Rhodes. I have a guitar that you can purchase. That is my signature guitar, but it's also the Randy Rhodes Flying V model.
Oh,
So
cool.
I just had it. It just came out in April, so I was like, let's tattoo that some mushrooms.
That's dope, man. Especially considering our conversation today
Yeah.
and the fact you got this new guitar out, Randy Rhodes. For those of you out there, the original guitarist for Ozzy or Black Sabbath. I
No,
guess.
Ozzy.
It was Ozzy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even I'm a little misty on that one. Well, cool, man. Let's switch it up. Let's get this tattoo on you. After
do
we're
it.
done, we'll come back over here. We'll have a toast and a high five. We'll see how it went.
Hell yeah.
And all that shit. All right, my man.
Fuck
High
yeah.
five.
Hell yeah. Back of the knee is a little bit of a bitch, but it's all right. It's all right. I love it. It is amazing. Super cool. And it's an honor, you know, my first Jackson model. Now I got a Jackson model growing mushrooms on my leg, thanks to Aaron. Fuck yeah, dude. That
Perfect combo.
Welcome back, Mark.
Hey,
How was it? How was it?
It was fantastic.
You were chilling. I mean,
That was awesome.
You seemed totally
Well,
relaxed.
just like I said, though, like getting tattooed now, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not as exhilarating. So I get nervous before I get tattooed because they all hurt. Don't say they don't hurt. They hurt. They all hurt.
They do.
You
They
know?
do.
But no,
hurt.
it was gentle. You were gliding it. You know, felt good.
I try to be nice about it,
Yeah.
as nice as I can. And that was right behind your knee too, which is that's a little spicy zone.
That sucked. Yeah, it's good.
I'm just stoked to do. I've never done a guitar. I don't think ever. Maybe. Well, I did. I'm thinking of a sleeve I did with a bent guitar. But I've never done a flying V, and I've never done a guitar turning into mushrooms.
Awesome.
And I love your music, and I love mushrooms. So,
Fuck yeah.
And so it's just
Hell
the
yes.
and for what we talked about today, I think was the perfect piece for what we did.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was dancing with, when am I going to get tattooed? I know that we're going to go somewhere different. You know, I was like, you know what? That sounds like a good idea.
Mushrooms.
Mushroom guitar growing mushrooms. Sounds great.
Yeah, it worked out good. And well, so why don't you let people know a little bit? This is coming out in this Wednesday, so in like 5 days. I don't know. Is there anything you want to shout out? Where you're going to be? Or is that after you're heading to Florida now?
Well, tomorrow I'll be flying to Florida, and we'll be doing Welcome to Rockville. In January, we're doing some festivals, Incarceration and Louder Than Life, some of the DWP festivals, which I was telling you, it's awesome that we're finally on these festivals, because normally it's more radio and not doing the extreme stuff, so we get to play these big, huge shows in the U.S. that we never get to play. So, yeah, July we'll be out. August we're playing with Lamb of God in Vegas and Riverside. And really, we got everything else is penciled. You know, the fall will be back. We'll be on a tour in the U.S. most likely in October. We just haven't really put it out there. So you heard it first.
Busy boy, man.
Always,
You got a lot going on this year.
Always.
What about? Are you guys writing right now, or just playing, or?
I always try to be writing. So yeah, I'm always working on stuff.
When can people expect the next album out of you guys?
Well, probably not for a little bit, because the last record, Remember You Must Die, just came out. That's funny, because we were originally going to be doing this podcast to promote that, but it's been months now because we're busy dudes.
Right.
So yeah, our latest record came out this year called Remember You Must Die on Century Media Records.
Okay.
So that's out now, and yeah, we'll be touring on that probably for the next year and a half, and then working on the next one, and then on to the next, and on to the next, and on to the next.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I really do appreciate you making the time. I know you got to go right from here to home to catch a flight to Florida for tomorrow, and the fact you made it shows me you're a man of your word, which I really appreciate.
Absolutely.
Stoked to me. Grant put us together, and he's like, you'll see. He's our people, and it's true. You are. I hope we hang out another time after this is all over.
Absolutely.
We had a lot of things we talked about off air that we'll be connecting on as well,
Totally.
and I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely.
So, cheers to a new friendship. Cheers to a new tattoo. Cheers to your band and all your success.
Thank you so much. Cheers to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Got a tap. My buddy taught me that one. Tell everybody where they can find you.
I'm just on Instagram. My name, Mark Heylmun. That's my main social media at this point.
And Suicide Silence is on Instagram.
Suicide Silence is on Instagram.
Right.
Suicide Silence is on YouTube. Spotify.
Pretty easy to
Suicide
find.
Silence. Yeah, pretty easy to find.
Cool.
I'm not the most online guy, but I'm on Instagram. You know, mainly when I'm on tour. If I'm at home, I'm usually like I'm not even on social media.
Right. Well, God bless you for that, dude. I try not to be, but I have to be for some reason. They tell me.
I know. I have to be too. You know, somebody usually wrangles me in like, "Hey, can you do this video and post it?" And I'm like, "All right, yeah, sure, I got you."
That's how it
Let's
goes
do
around here.
Yeah.
Like, we need you to talk to the camera more. You should just tell people what you had for lunch. I'm like, I don't think to do things like that.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
once they tell me, I'll do it. Right on. Well, best of luck on all these things you're doing this year and getting around and showing everybody the new album. I'll look at your schedule too. I don't know where that fits in for me, but I heard August Vegas. Maybe I'll pop over. I want to catch one of your shows. That might be the right one for me.
Be a good one.
But we'll work that out later. That's it for today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're digging the show, give me a subscription on YouTube. Give me some likes. Give me some comments. You know the drill. Check me out on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify. And again, thank you for tuning in. And I don't know who we're having next week. I don't know what the schedule says, but someone rad. So check it out. Until then, peace out. I am super excited to announce that we are now sponsored by Sullen Clothing. My good friends over there, Ryan and Jeremy. I've been working with these guys for over 20 years. They're amazing. Thank you guys for your support. And I also wanted to add, if you're a tattoo artist out there who is interested in maybe doing a collaboration with these guys, they're always looking for new talent, new ideas. Feel free to hit them up at design@sullenclothing.com. They'd love to hear from you. And again, Ryan, Jeremy, Sullen, all the boys over there, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.